In this Kissy adventure, E, the space traveler, takes the whole Kissy family into space. He explains the solar system, which has planets circling the sun, which include Earth. The Kissy family is surprised to see not only planets circling the sun, but a car and a driver.
E sent me a message and said that he and his spaceship would be here sometime later today. He also said he would like your mama and I to go up into space with you kids this time. And I told him yes, we would love to go.
It's such a beautiful day. I think we have time to take a little fly before E gets here.
Okay, Mama, we'll put our wing shirts on and we'll be ready to go. It is a beautiful day, Mama. Are you and Daddy really going to come with us into space?
Yes, this time both your daddy and I will go with you and see space.
Oh, look, here comes E's spaceship. Let's hurry home.
Thank you for inviting us to go with you to see space, E. I am really looking forward to seeing the things the kids have been talking about.
What are we going to see and learn about when we go into space this time, E?
I am going to show you where your planet Earth came from. I think we are ready, so we'll be leaving Earth now.
Oh my, this is amazingly beautiful.
There is your Earth, your Moon, and your Sun. To tell you about your planet Earth, I first have to tell you about your Sun. There is your Sun, with a lot of dust circling around it.
Where did the dust come from, E?
Space is full of dust, but this dust has been captured by the Sun's gravity. Do you remember what gravity is?
Yes, it is a force that tries to pull things to Earth's surface.
That's right, but your moon and the stars and your sun have gravity too. These things happened long ago, but I can put pictures of these things in space for you to see. The dust goes around and around the sun and then starts to clump together. Finally, these clumps are so large they become planets. Here is the sun with the planets circling around it. The sun now has 8 planets circling around it. Some planets have moons, some planets do not, all made from the dust that was circling around them. The sun, with its planets and moons, is called the solar system.
Why is it called a solar system, E?
Because everything is circling the sun, and the word for sun is solar.
I see. So the word solar means sun. But why do the planets and their moons circle the sun, E?
Because the gravity of the sun is so strong, the planets cannot move away from it.
Ooh, what is that, E? It looks like somebody spilled some milk.
Yes, it looks like spilled milk, but it's a galaxy called the Milky Way.
What is a galaxy, E?
A galaxy is a place in space that has many stars, planets, and moons. At home, at night, if you go outside and look up at the sky, you will see many stars. These are in the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way has what look like arms called spirals coming off of it. Your Earth is in one of these spirals as part of the solar system.
Are there other solar systems in the Milky Way, E?
Yes, the Milky Way has many stars that have planets. These stars are far, far away from us. Now, let me show you a picture of your solar system with all of its planets. Do you see where your planet Earth is?
Yes, it's the third planet away from the sun. Our planet Earth is a pretty blue, E.
Yes, that's because Earth has a lot of oceans and lakes and streams and bayous.
I see the 8 planets and the sun, but what is that other thing circling around the sun?
Those are called asteroids.
Where did these asteroids come from, E?
The dust that did not get big enough to become planets were left over became rocks called asteroids. These smaller clumps of dust or rocks or asteroids are held to the sun by the sun's gravity. These asteroids orbit or go around the sun in a group called the asteroid belt.
So these asteroids are left over from the dust that formed our solar system. E, what is that? It looks like a car with somebody driving it.
Yes, it really is a car. It's a red Tesla Roadster. It orbits the sun, just like the planets do. But that's not a real astronaut sitting in the Tesla car. It's a dummy, dressed in a spacesuit to look like an astronaut. Its name is Starman.
E, how did the car and Starman get there?
To get into space, you have to use a rocket. Here is the red Tesla car in a pod on top of the rocket.
What is a pod, E?
The pod is something to protect the Tesla car as it launches and until it gets to its final destination. When the pod is closed, the engines ignite and the rocket leaves Earth and heads towards space.
Who put the Tesla car and Starman into space, E?
It was put into space by an American citizen named Elon Musk, who has been interested in space for a long time. Elon Musk started a company called SpaceX, which makes rockets and spacecraft. SpaceX was testing a new rocket. This was the first time this new rocket was going to be sent into space. Rockets are used to carry spacecrafts into space. So SpaceX needed a spacecraft or something heavy like that to test the rocket's ability to lift the spacecraft into space.
Why did they use the car instead of a spacecraft on top of the rocket, E?
Elon Musk owns a large part of a company that makes electric cars. These cars are called Teslas. The car being used was an 8-year-old Tesla that belonged to Elon Musk. This Tesla car was a lot cheaper to use than a spacecraft would be.
Why did Elon Musk put Starman in the Tesla car, E?
He did it just for fun and to get people's attention and get them more interested in space.
Why did Elon Musk want his car to orbit the sun like the planets do, E?
Remember, this was the first test flight of this rocket, and Elon Musk did not know how the rocket would perform. Let me tell you a little bit about rockets. A rocket has 2 parts, a first stage and a second stage. First stage has the engines that launch the rocket into space. The second stage carries the spacecraft to its destination. The rocket carrying the Tesla and Starman worked as Elon Musk hoped. The rocket got the Tesla past Earth's atmosphere and into space. Then the first stage disconnected from the second stage and returned to Earth. The second stage, carrying the Tesla car and Starman, went past Mars and then lost power. The Tesla car and Starman were in a place to make their own orbit around the Sun.
Is the Tesla car and Starman part of our solar system now, E?
Yes, the Tesla car and Starman orbit the Sun like the planets do, but the shape of their orbit is different from the other planets.
What do you mean, E?
Planets orbit the Sun, but they all stay in their own orbit. The Tesla car and Starman cuts across Mars' orbit of the Sun instead of being just in its own orbit.
Tell us more about Elon Musk and SpaceX, E.
Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, makes rockets and spacecraft. One of SpaceX rockets is called Falcon 9.
Why is it called Falcon 9, E?
The 9 part of the name is used because it has 9 engines that lift the rocket into space. Here is the Falcon 9 with its 9 engines at the bottom of the first stage.
Why is it called Falcon 9, E?
There was a movie called Star Wars, and in Star Wars they had a very fast spacecraft called Falcon.
There is also a bird called falcon. The falcon bird can dive over 200 miles an hour. This makes it the fastest bird or even animal on Earth.
SpaceX makes a spacecraft called Dragon. Here is a picture of the rocket with Dragon spacecraft on top. Here is the Falcon 9 showing its 2 stages and Dragon.
What does the spacecraft Dragon do, E?
Dragon carries supplies and astronauts to the International Space Station. Here is the International Space Station, or ISS, up close. The International Space Station has astronauts and Russian cosmonauts living on the space station to learn more about space. When Falcon X and Dragon get to the International Space Station orbit, the first stage of the rocket disconnects and returns to Earth. The second stage of the rocket continues on toward the International Space Station with Dragon attached. The second stage detaches and Dragon attaches itself to the International Space Station. SpaceX also makes a spacecraft called Starlink.
What does the spacecraft Starlink do, E?
The spacecraft Starlink brings internet to places where they couldn't normally get internet. Starlink spacecraft are very small. The Falcon 9 carries many Starlink spacecraft into space at one time. When Falcon 9 releases Starlink starcraft, they look like a line or a string. Starlink satellites are in an orbit very, very close to Earth.
Why are Starlink satellites so close to Earth, and so many of them, and so close together, E?
Being so close to Earth and so many of them make the internet stronger and better. There is your Earth with Starlink satellites close to Earth, and then the International Space Station, and then all of the other spacecrafts orbiting the Earth a little bit further out.
The Starlink satellites are very close to Earth.
Next, we see the International Space Station.
Then we see other spacecraft or satellites circling the Earth. What are these spacecraft doing, E?
These satellites are put in orbit by many different countries. They are put there to monitor the Earth's weather and to help with cell phone and television reception and just to learn more about space. The Falcon 9 rocket is not the rocket that put Tesla and Starman into orbit around the Sun. That rocket is called Falcon Heavy.
Why is it called Falcon Heavy, E?
Falcon Heavy is made up of 3 Falcon 9s all put together. The Falcon Heavy is much more powerful than the Falcon 9.
Why did they want a more powerful rocket, E?
A more powerful rocket can lift larger loads and go further into space, like the Moon and maybe even Mars. Elon Musk and SpaceX are working on a much more powerful rocket called the Super Heavy. The Super Heavy will carry a spacecraft called Starship. Starship is much larger than the other spacecraft, so it can carry much more into space.
What are those things on the side of Super Heavy, E? They look like the fins on a fish, E.
Yes, they do, but they are called grid fins.
What do you mean, grid fins, E?
A grid is a bunch of straight lines crossing over another bunch of straight lines. So instead of being solid, it has a lot of holes, which makes it a lot lighter.
Why does Super Heavy have grid fins, E?
When the booster or first stage of the Super Heavy returns to Earth, it uses these fins to help it land properly. Remember, rockets have 2 stages, the first stage and the second stage. The first stage, or booster, is the bottom part of the rocket, which has the engines that lift the rocket into space. Here are the boosters of Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and Super Heavy. The Falcon 9 booster has 9 engines. Falcon Heavy is made up of 3 Falcon 9 rockets, so it has 27 engines. Super Heavy has 33 engines, but these engines are much larger than the other engines and much more powerful. The second stage of the rocket is what the booster carries into space. Here is Falcon 9 with Dragon on top. Here is Falcon Heavy with the Tesla and Starman. Here is Super Heavy carrying the really large Starship. The more powerful a rocket is, the larger spacecraft it can carry into space. The Super Heavy rocket and Starship are still being tested, so there may be some more changes to come.
Why does Elon Musk want to build these powerful rockets, E?
Because Elon Musk wants to be able to carry enough supplies to the moon so they can have a space station there. Then, from the moon, Elon Musk wants to bring supplies and bring people to Mars.
Mars?
Yes, Elon Musk wants to bring supplies to Mars so that he can bring people there to live. And there is Mars, sometimes called the Red Planet.
Why is it called the Red Planet, E?
Because Mars rocks are full of iron, and iron rusts and becomes kind of a red or orange powder.
E, Mars looks like it's a lot smaller than Earth.
Yes, it is smaller. It's about half the size of Earth.
Why does Elon Musk want to do all these things, E?
Because space is the new frontier, and Elon Musk is a true pioneer of space.
I want to be a space pioneer too, E. I want to go to Mars.
Well, right now we are going back to your planet Earth. Next time we go into space, we will look at all the planets in your solar system, and especially Mars.
E, thank you so much for inviting us to go into space with you.
Space is much more exciting than I thought it would be, E.
You are both welcome to come with us any time we go.
There he goes. Goodbye, E. Come back soon.